Introducing the Pioneer DJM-S5. Welcome back, Jamie Hartley here from Crossfader, and in today's review we're looking at Pioneer DJ's DJM-S5. It's the first in their range of battle style DJ mixers, and as you can see it's got a really nice, interesting aesthetic to it with the red faceplate. This DJ mixer unlocks Serato DJ Pro and Serato's DVS when you plug it in, and even more interestingly, this is the first time we've seen a DJ product that is powered solely by USB-C. You can power it with your laptop or with a mains adapter too, both with USB-C. We're going to check that out later on in the review. In this video, you're going to learn everything that this mixer has available and some hacks, tips and tricks that I would recommend to you if you've purchased this mixer to get started as a scratch DJ too. So, without further hesitation, let's get stuck into it. At first glance, you can see that this mixer looks pretty awesome. We've got this nice red faceplate with red accents going throughout. This is the first time we've kind of seen as standard Pioneer DJ add stuff like this. It's not a limited edition version, this is just out of the box how this comes. And they've really thought about the aesthetics. On the front of the mixer, we also have the Crossfader feeling adjuster, and this has a clear faceplate there. So you can see the mechanism of how the Crossfader works, and it's just those little touches that make this mixer quite unique compared to some of the other battle mixers out there. Now for the actual features. So one of my favorite things is the fact that it features a Magvel Fader Pro. This is definitely one of my favorite crossfaders on the market. It's the same crossfader that's found on their higher end mixers such as the DJM-S7 and S11. So we can change the feeling adjust as you've just seen on the front of the mixer, so you can make it lighter or heavier depending on your scratch style. So this is really nice to see on the mixer at this price point. Now moving up, we have the nice loose up faders, which is also pretty standard for battle mixers, and we have the level, mix adjust and channel 1, channel 2 mix controls of the headphones too. The headphones work with a 1/4 or 1/8 inch jack down on the front of the mixer. A few last standard things to run through. We have a 3-band total kill EQ, which is worth noting. Trim control and filter control, all as standard. In the center, we have the master level, a booth level, for if you want to use this mixer in bar or club environments and add some booth monitors. And then you have your transport controls, such as being able to scroll up and down your playlists, click back and forth through them, and load tracks in with the dedicated load controls. Now for the performance features. Well, we have this middle section here, which features 4 performance pads on each deck. Now, most DJ controllers and battle mixers will have up to 8 performance pads. So this is a compromise here on this mixer where we only have 4. There's also further compromises in this section whereby there aren't dedicated pad mode buttons. To do that, we have to use this mode button here, and they're located underneath the pads themselves. Before I get to that, it's worth noting that you can access pads 5 to 8 by tapping this button here. So you will get access to all 8 hot cues or all 8 rolls or loops, for example, but you will need to use that button to toggle between them. It's also worth noting that they are quite bright, these pads, but the mode buttons aren't that bright themselves, so it's quite hard to determine which mode you're maybe wanting to go to, or it's just one of those things to note really. The pads are all plastic, so they have a click to them. You might be able to hear that on the microphone. However, saying that, even though they're not the rubber pads like found on some of the battle mixers and some of the higher end controllers, they still perform really well. So I've not really had any issues with mis-hitting them if I'm doing finger drumming or anything like that. And they work well and they're responsive. So I feel like that's all good for me. Going back to the pad modes, now this is where it is a real drawback, because let's say you quickly want to activate a loop, you've got to hold the mode button, go to auto loop, and then let go, and then activate a loop. Then further still, if you've activated a loop, say a 1-beat loop here, if I want to chop that loop down, we don't have dedicated parameter buttons here either, which are usually little left and right buttons. So instead we've got to use our mouse on the screen, and I've got to show up more parameter controls. You'll see the loop moves along, and I can chop it down in this way and undo it. So it's a shame that we don't have the dedicated parameter buttons either here. Now I will say, make sure you hold the mode button, because another thing that I found is if you're in the mix, you want to quickly do something, you think, okay, mode, oh, which mode is it in? Sampler. Oh, and then you go to press sampler, and now I've set up an 8-beat loop because it's switched back to the original mode you were on. So make sure that you hold the mode button and then go to the mode that you want, so you don't accidentally activate a new hotkey or a new loop or whatever mode you're currently in. You don't activate a new one accidentally. Running through the pad modes quickly, we have hot cue, which you can set up lots of different cues throughout the track. We have roll, so you can roll different sections of the song by holding it down. If you go into pad mode, I've got beat jump activated in there in the Serato settings, so I can beat jump the track forwards and backwards. Auto loop, which I've just covered. Sampler, so we can launch our one-shot samples. And we can have all 8, obviously. These are set up within the software as well. We can get to gate cue by double tapping this mode, which then silences the track when I press it, and it just plays that hot cue for as long as I hold it, to be able to do things like that. We've also got cue loop, which jumps to the loop and then sets the last loop that you've had set. So it jumps to a hot cue and sets a 2-beat loop in this example. But again, because there aren't parameter controls, if you wanted to change that loop length, you're going back into auto loop mode and activating a loop and turning it on and off, so it can get a bit messy. We can undo it that way. Saved loop, double tap, so if you've got any loops saved, you can activate them, or shift and press to jump to that loop and activate. And lastly, we have the scratch bank mode, where you can load, if you have a look in the software, up to 8 different songs or samples, and choose which cue or save loop you want to load that track from. So I can just press the pad and it jumps to that track and loads it in from that cue point. And again, we have access to all 8 there. Lastly, in this section, we have the shift and 528 pad creates an auto loop. Now, I've got it set up in the DJM-S5 utility, which is worth knowing about here. If you just load it up on your computer, you can change some of the extra settings in preferences. So for example, the crossfader cut, you can change as well here. So you can make it tighter, or so you can make the cut tighter. Now I will say that as standard, when you turn this mixer on, you can see it's a faded crossfader curve. So make sure that you change the setting first of all when you load up your mixer. So you can hold shift and then press FX3 here, and this will change it to a tighter cut. I'm not sure why it starts as a slow curve rather than a sharp curve when this is a scratch mixer, but just be aware of that, and that's where that setting is. And then like I say, you can change even the tightness of the crossfader as well here. The thing I wanted to bring your attention to as well is this loop option. So I've checked this. This isn't checked as standard, and I feel like it should be checked as standard, but I've checked this so that every time I activate this auto loop, it always sets 8 beats. Because if it's not checked, if I've set a 2-beat loop, as you can see here on the screen, when I then go shift and press 528, it will set that 2-beat loop. Now that's not too bad on 2 beats, but if you were down on a quarter beat or a half beat, then it'll get a bit intense. So I set this here, and then no matter where I am, if the last loop that I had set was a quarter beat, and I want to jump to an 8-beat loop or set an 8-beat loop, I can press shift and that 528 pad, and it will always use an 8-beat loop. So it is personal preference, but I think that's a quick hack that's worth looking at. Again, all about setting this mixer up for your use and what works for you out of the box. Are you either a DJ just getting started or a DJ looking to level up your skills? Well, did you know we've got online DJ courses and tons of tutorials to help you do just that? We cover everything from Serato to Recordbox to Denon, as well as product specific and genre specific courses, as well as skill specific such as scratching and transitions. Take out the guesswork with our step-by-step learning platform and iOS app, so you can access your content anytime, any place. Just check out wearecrossfader.co.uk. Let's get back to the video. Now talking a bit more about the effects paddles here and the effects section. There's a few different modes to figure out when it comes to the effects on this mixer. So the standard effects, what you'll find on all battle mixers, is the fact that we have these paddle style activations. And these are the full size paddles that you'll find on the other Pioneer DJ battle mixers. And we can lock an effect on by clicking it up, or we can latch it by holding it down, and it will just activate while we're holding it. You can have 6 different effects within Serato DJ all loaded at once, and you can activate them on either side. If you decide to upgrade Serato DJ Pro, you can access up to 50 something effects, and you can save your favorites using this bank A, Shift FX2 on this side, or bank B on this side, and you can see it toggles on the screen. So you can have a bank of your favorite effects loaded in there. To activate the effects, we just turn it on. We've got this effect on, we could go to this effect. We can change the beat fraction. We can change the level of it. And they work post fader. If you want to activate 2 effects at once, you've got to quickly press one then the other. We can hold 2 and then that one, and we can have all 3. You could have all 6 if you wanted, but that might be a bit overkill. Like I said, we can use the latch effect here. And that's how the effects work. These are just Serato effects. They're not hardware effects. They're not built into the mixer. You will have to use the effects on Serato. So if you do decide to use external sources and use this as a standalone mixer, which you can by switching to phono and line, and you can plug normal turntables in and mix regular vinyl, you won't be able to access any effects or apply any effects to those sources because they're all from the software. Then underneath the effects, we have these cut 1, cut 2, cut 3, 4, 5 and 6. And this is a new mode that's been added to this mixer, and it's not the first time we've seen this sort of effect applied to a battle mixer. And this is kind of aimed at your beginner DJs out there that want to get into scratching. What it does is it takes away the crossfader cuts for you, so you can just practice on getting this forward and backward motion tight with the beat. Now to activate it, all we do is we hold one of them, and now we're in cut 1. You'll need to turn it on. It doesn't matter what the level is, but you turn it on, and then when you push it forward, we can hear the sound, but when we pull it back, you can't. So it's a forward scratch. We've got a reverse scratch, so you only hear the reverse sound. Then we've got some other patterns. Let's have a quick listen. This one sounds quite good with a beat. When I double time it. So you can just practice getting in time over a song. And have a jam that way. It just gets you used to doing cuts and have a listen to what the potential is when you start to introduce the crossfader. So they are the scratch cutters. Now to get out of that, you just hold one of them again and you go back to the effects. So we're back in the effects now, and the one that's flashing is the one that's active. Something I do need to mention about Scratch Cutter is that I have the Rain 12s here, Mark IIs, running in DVS mode, which is Digital Vinyl System. I couldn't get the Scratch Cutter mode to work if they were just plugged in internally via the USB, or if I were using, say, HID mode with CDJs. It seems that you have to use a DVS source, such as these in DVS mode, or turntables with control vinyl, or phase, for example. I'm not sure if that's something that will be updated at a later date, but that's just something worth noting. This next feature is hidden underneath Serato FX2, and it's the Crossfader hot cue mode. If I press Shift and then press this cut 4, you'll see it flashes, and that means Crossfader hot cue is active. What this does is ultimately, if I play these two tracks, if I set a hot cue on this side that's not playing, then when I put the crossfader across, you can see that it activates from that hot cue. So this is really intended for introducing you to beat juggling and chasing, which is where you would typically bring the jog wheel or platter back to the start of the beat and then cut it across, and you can create your own loops. But we can just do it just with the crossfader to try to get our timing right. We could choose a different hot cue here, and you'll see that if I do it on that off beat and I do it fast enough, it doesn't restart this side from the start. Now if I wait an extra second, that's when it triggers it and activates it from the start. And you see it went back to the start. So we can do little tricks like add in that clap. Or we can just do some beat juggling from the first hot cue. And then to turn it off, Shift, press that again, and it deactivates. And you can see it's not activating it anymore. Moving to the back of the mixer, you can see that this is actually powered simply by one USB cable, a USB-C cable even, running from my laptop to the mixer. There is no power running to this mixer, it's all powered by the laptop. You'll also see that there is a connection next to that if you want to power the mixer without a laptop. So you can plug a USB-C power adapter into this mixer and plug, some analog turntables in and just use it standalone without a laptop. So it's interesting that they've taken the power source away, so you've got the ability to just simply plug and play with this mixer. And if you have portable turntables, you can really just take this on the road. Then we've also got the XLR outputs for master out. We've got a booth output as well, which doubles up as a master 2 out. And we've got the 2 RCA phono inputs with the switches for phono or line, depending on your source, plus an aux RCA input as well. The mic is a combo XLR jack input, and both of those are controlled by the front, where we've got independent level controls for the mic and the aux. So as you can tell, this mixer is powerful, but it does have some drawbacks. For example, the fact that there aren't independent pad mode buttons, they're tucked away underneath the actual pads themselves, is a big drawback for myself. However, if you are just getting started as a DJ and want to get familiar with that battle style layout, knowing that you probably will want to upgrade your equipment later down the line, then this is a good entry point if you want to get that real feel battle style layout. Obviously, you need to think about what turntables you're going to purchase as well to go alongside this. It's got that unique thing of the fact that it's powered solely by USB and it can be powered by your laptop. So if you are like a portablist turntablist, you could take this on the road with a portable turntable and get really creative with it too in that sense. I think the price point comes in a little high, especially when compared to its competitor, the Numark Scratch DJ Mixer. However, as with Pioneer, you do get very quality products, and that Crossfader is second to none. It feels great and it's really good for learning to scratch with. So if that is your goal, is to learn how to scratch and beat juggle and just get tight with those scratches, then this is just a fantastic mixer to get started with. If you want to elevate and start doing routines, where you're using lots of different performance modes, then it might be a bit of a drawback with the fact that the way that these pad modes are laid out. And you might want to look at something like the DJM-S5 or S11 or another brand of DJ mixer with a higher tier price bracket to go with it. If you are new to scratching and you want to learn some scratch techniques, then make sure to check out our complete scratching course on our website. There's a free lesson if you click the link where you can go and see inside the course and download the free Crossfader scratching tools too, so you can play around and start experimenting with scratching. I hope this video has been useful, whether you're thinking about purchasing this unit or you've already purchased it and just wanted a walkthrough. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that thumbs up to help us keep making more videos like this. I'll see you again in another review very soon.